Previously on Starhammer 42K. Following the unexpected and harrowing results of the last match, it was agreed upon by everyone that Niner was out to get them. Obi-Wan and Anakin were in on it, and that measures needed to be taken to ensure that what happened last time wouldn't happen again. To that end, Anderson charmed Rookie into finding out what their next training mission was going to be, revealing it to be the infamous bounty hunter and separatist commander, Dirge, who had disappeared years prior fighting a Chaos scouting fleet consisting largely of Plague Marines. Joining us for that mission was also Magneto's character, Sisalask, a Trandoshan Republic intelligence operative who had been leading an anti-slavery operation with his partner, Turshev, who still hadn't yet transferred over from Kashyyyk.
Glory in this battle. Stay your savage tongue.
With our team assembled and ready, we quickly moved into the training room and began taking up fighting positions. The gunners set themselves up in the towers, the knights and droids on the ground floor ready to take on the Jedi bounty hunter as soon as he arrived. Soon, the flicker of a hologram began to materialize ahead, and we got ready for the fight of our lives. Unfortunately, we were too right.
Stars.
The creation of an ancient Sith alchemy, Terrentatex were biologically enhanced rancors designed to hunt and kill Jedi of old, with even the venerable Revan himself having great difficulty in killing them. With a roar, the Terrentatex charged. Before the team could open fire, Beatus fired off his thrusters and landed right before the beast, and began firing off a massive torrent of rockets and missiles from his new weapon systems. Upon impact, smoke and fire billowed out, and Jumba proclaimed that his mighty new creation had bested the monster. Then the smoke cleared, revealing that the Terrentatex had simulated tearing out a chunk of the wall and using it as a shield. Before Beatus could move out of the way, it batted him aside like a baseball, and the droid slammed into the wall. Broken and battered for a second time, Beatus lay crumpled on the floor as the Terrentatex unleashed a deafening roar that dropped the entire team to the floor in pure agony. Turkled countered this by channeling his battle meditation into Force Valor, fighting off the sudden maddening depression the beast had thrown at us.
Shoot this mother...
Minutes later, Turkled came to, with the power turning back on, and everyone crowded around him. Any who had had doubts about the power of the Force and its divinity were made true believers in that moment, with even Cyrus and Anderson, who had previously argued with Turkled about it earlier, shaken to their very core. With that, the mission was concluded. Beatus was carried out for repairs, this time with Rookie and E4 present to ensure Jumba wouldn't attempt another of his mad experiments. Turkled was called away to attend a meeting with the Jedi Council for obvious reasons. Rambo and Ader found themselves patrolling the jungle together, and Anderson excused herself to contemplate on what she had just witnessed. Meanwhile, Cyrus was called to a meeting with Lady Ventress herself, as a new asset in the Knight's arsenal was soon arriving, and Cyrus would be made its caretaker. A good thing too, because the narrator was really starting to get tired of us winning all the damn time. 1,000 years before the Imperial Invasion of the Celestium Galaxy, the last of the ancient Sith Wars would be fought between the Jedi and Sith, culminating in their final defeat at the Battle of Ruusan. However, in the centuries prior to that culminating victory, there lay a third faction to the war between the Jedi-led Republic and the Sith Empire. the Segmentum of Zakul, better known as the Eternal Empire. Led by its Force-sensitive emperor, Valkorion I, the Zakul would cut a bloody path through the space of their two enemies, waging countless wars until the final defeat of Valkorion III by the Jedi hero known as the Outlander, and the fragmentation of the Empire between his three children. Their collapse, however, would lead to the chain of events causing the Great Dark Age, where technology was lost, and entire civilizations were reduced overnight to the Iron Age. This long darkness would only end with the final destruction of the Sith and the restoration of the Republic following the Ruusan Reformation. However, many of those ancient artifacts of the old Zakul remain, buried and waiting to be found. During the Imperial Invasion, one such construct was discovered on the world of Balmora, an ancient Tyth-class war droid called Hadur, named after one of the ancient Zakulian gods of war. Hadur and his brethren were perhaps the greatest war machines developed during that time, and arguably, even the present. Hadur is essentially a Celestium's answer to the Men of Iron, and to the orcs that inadvertently woke him, they would learn that the hard way. In the aftermath of this genocidal battle, Hadur was discovered by the Galactic Dominion and through considerable effort, was drained of his power and shipped off to Skato Minor. Though the details behind what was done to the droid are classified, Count Dooku ordered Asajj Ventress to bring this weapon of war along to join the Starhammer expedition, and in turn, into the custody of the Sun Guard Paladin Cyrus Mardonis. For that reason, it was decided that this final simulation would be done, not only for the benefit of the crew, but as a test of what Hadur was capable of. For that reason, it was decided to deploy the most dangerous opponent in the Imperium's arsenal, the dreaded Grey Knights. Founded on Titan, these mysterious Psyker Space Marines represented the Imperium's answer to the Jedi and Sith during the war, even leading the attempted purge of the Jedi Temple during the Siege of Coruscant. There, Grandmaster Yoda and Grandmaster Coben Lorak would do battle in the spires above the temple, and after a long, drawn-out fight, the Jedi would emerge victorious amongst the ruins of his temple. Turkle himself had fought at that battle, being among the few survivors of those temple guards sent to protect the Galactic Senate from the Astarius and Grey Knight assault teams. Though uneasy about the prospect of facing them again, Rambo would point out that he had just smited a giant demon rancor, and this should be a piece of cake for him.
Clearly, you never faced them.
Well, we're about to. Better to go into this optimistic, right?
Fair enough.
Joining us along with Hadur was Kynek, Niner, and Beatus, having just been repaired after getting body slammed by the Torrent attack in the last match.
You did make sure that idiot scientist didn't try anything stupid, right?
Oh yeah, kinda hard to do when I had a gun on him the whole time.
Wait, what?
What can I say? Every time I tried to leave the room to go to the bathroom, he'd be trying to do something crazy. He even tried sticking out 2 more arms, paint him blue, and even tried to reprogram him to call himself Stitch for some reason.
So, what did you do when you had to...
Oh, you don't want to know.
You're right. I don't. Thanks for that.
Oh, you're welcome, buddy. The reason the rest of Easy Squad weren't coming with was that Niner had been pushing them harder and harder with their Astartes training until they finally snapped and dared him to fight one by himself. Niner retorted he could take on 3.
You want tough? You got tough. I pity you, fool.
Doing a final check of their equipment and Cyrus giving Hadur his marching orders, they boarded the elevator and made their way to the training room. As we took up our positions, the Grey Knights teleported into the middle of the room and sensed the party with their telepathic abilities, taking special offense to Hadur himself.
You abominable intelligence thief! You will suffer the wrath of the Emperor! You are an unworthy challenge, creature of flesh. Ah!
The Grey Knights opened fire with their side blasters, tearing holes in our cover as we scattered under the withering fire. Only Hadur, who was layered shielding, withstood the storm as the Astartes charged. Hadur moved to meet them, his great energy glaive humming for their blood. Before they could close in, however, Beatus took off to the air and unleashed his full arsenal of rockets and missiles into the Knights, throwing them off their feet before they channeled their will into psychic void shields. The effort, however, bought Niner time to come about, arming his own rocket launcher. Seeing what the commander was doing, Hadur raised his arc gauntlet and fired up a massive torrent of lightning, slamming into and weakening the void shields of the nearest knights enough for Niner's rocket to slam home. Before it could detonate, one of the other Grey Knights drew his hand forth and teleported him away using his Gate of Infinity ability, only for Turkle to see what he was doing and send a telekinetic wave crashing into him. The Grey Knight was thrown back several feet, causing him to lapse in his concentration, and for the teleported Grey Knight to phase right back to where he was. The rocket's energy crashed into him, cracking his armor, and injuring him as he was left cratered into the floor.
Brother, I am pinned here!
Turning invisible, Rambo prepared to throw an anti-tank mine at the downed Grey Knight, but the third one sensed his movements, firing his side blaster in his general direction as Rambo dove for the floor. Across the way, the silhouette of the firing Astartes suddenly triggered a subroutine in Beatus' programming, as its form registered as a rival robot mascot. He fired off his thrusters, screaming towards the bemused knight, who then backhanded him aside into yet another wall. He turned, his hand glowing with the power of molten beams prepared to incinerate the pest, only for Hadur to come charging at him with his glaive in hand. The Grey Knight turned desperately, firing the beam directly at the Tyth War Droid. His shields buckled and flared, but the ancient god of Sakul powered through and impaled the knight upon his glaive. Alright, now to make things clear to you 40k diehards who I know are going to bitch about this scene, let me remind you. Hadur is the equivalent of a man of iron, and we all know what they do to Astartes. With the Grey Knight fallen, Hadur pointed his glaive at the still-standing knight, challenging him.
It is now your time, Force Wielder.
The Grey Knight roared in anger, unleashing a barrage of warp lightning and side cannon fire that drove Hadur back as his shield sputtered under the impacts. Kynek charged him with his electric staff raised, but even distracted, the knight moved like greased lightning, his power sword deflecting the blow before he kicked him across the room, smashing Kynek into a wall. Unfortunately, this distracted him enough for Rambo to throw his mine at the downed knight. Yet Starry's barely throwing up a telekinetic shield to absorb the blast that sent him careening through the floor like a potato digger. Before Nine or Rambo could finish him off, the other Grey Knight blinded us with a sunburst ability and swiftly moved to heal his wounded brother. As the light started to clear, the team began blind firing at the source of the light, Beatus with his rockets and Rambo with his grenade launcher, only for the projectiles to impact against their shields. Turkle launched himself forth like a missile, cracking the floor beneath his feet as he leapt toward the Astartes. The wounded Grey Knight, however, merely raised his hands, his pyrokinesis setting Turkle's robes on fire as the Jedi fell away screaming. Niner swiftly ran over, buying soda drinks from Beatus' dispenser and splashing them onto the burning Jedi, as Rambo desperately tried to cover them. The Knights were unfazed, savoring the sheer naked terror upon their enemies' faces as they prepared to bulldoze right through them. And then, the sight of the Jedi burning suddenly triggered Beatus' programming, and he started dancing again. Even E4 and the other droids up in the command room started dancing.
What are you doing?
Distraction, meatbag.
You filth!
The knight attempted to wrangle him, but Beatus flew away, dancing all the while like a crazy party animal as he landed with a split and performed a backflip. This infuriated the knight so much, he ran across the room to tear the droid apart, followed by his brother attempting to stop him. Before he could reach him, however, Hadur slammed into the pursuing knight and threw him across the room. The war droid then turned, his chest glowing with power, the beam cannon there charging as he slowly stalked towards the baffled Astartes.
What?
When Hadur's player, Paladin Delta, tried to bring his character to full power and then incinerate the Grey Knight with his chest cannon, he attempted to roll, but his dice roller froze, ironically. So Swordsman, Turkle's player, rolled for him, and he rolled a 1. This caused Hadur to completely shut down and go into a low-powered state. No, seriously, the Grey Knight literally just flicked his finger against his body and he went tumbling over like a tree. And then he sat back up like the Undertaker. Meanwhile, Niner and Rambo were throwing rockets, bombs, and crack grenades at the injured knight, now embedded into the wall, but the pissed off Astartes once more raised his hand and summoned forth warp vortexes, causing your explosives to start going in and out of portals like ricocheting bullets as the Grey Knight started to tear his way out of the wall.
Why can't you just be a good boy and die?
You're first.
In response, Turkled unleashed his most powerful force push that smashed the Grey Knight right back into the wall, but the Astarius began to apply his own telekinetic power. A tug of war commenced, which the Jedi was slowly, surely losing as the Grey Knight began to march against the Maelstrom, his halberd raised to cut him down in the name of his Emperor. Then they heard it, the clattering of running feet, as Rambo lurched from his invisible perch, knife and blaster drawn as he cut across the way to flank him. With a nudge of his mind, the knight shifted his barrier slightly, absorbing the fire, the thrown grenade, before sending the shockwave crushing right back into the commando and sending him flying across the way. But then he heard another, the compression of hydraulics lurching, the crumpling of the ground under the shockwave, and as he turned his head upward, he heard a single, shrieking battle cry.
For the Republic!
Niner came crashing down, its rocket launcher raised, and before the knight could even mentally flinch, he fired. The anti-tank-shaped charge smashed through the weakened void shield and slammed against the Astarius' helm, detonating him with a fiery explosion, followed by a massive repulse of the collapsing telekinetic energy, rupturing through the room and blasting everyone still standing. Niner was slammed into the room, his shields buckling as the concussive force threw him into the darkness, followed by Turkled slamming shoulder first into a wall, with the pain of his shattered collarbone and shoulder blade sending him following Niner into the dark bliss. Only one stood from the shattered ruins of that training room, the last Grey Knight that flickered in the limelight. Before he could utter his thanks to the Emperor, he suddenly felt a hand around his armored foot, the metal joints squeezing so suddenly, so quickly, that the pain of his shattered femur blurred with the impact of the wall against his armored helm, followed by another and another. He would slam into the far wall of the training room, barely staggering to his feet as he felt the footfalls of Hadur once more approaching him. As he looked up, he saw the growing orange light in the machine's chest, and he would give out one final scream. And then the energy hit him. The hologram incinerated along with a massive chunk of the armored wall. Indeed, the only thing remaining of the Astartes were his sabatons. Immediately after, everyone was rushed off to the sickbay for medical attention, and as we lay in our cots next to each other, Niner would raise a drink he managed to have smuggled in our room.
You learned a lesson today, boys. No matter how hard the challenge, we'll beat it. As a team.
Rambo raised his drink with a here, and they were both surprised when Turkled did the same. Not a single one of them was alone on this mission, and they had each other to depend on. Later that night, Niner apologized to Easy Squad for pushing them so hard, and everyone celebrated with a round of drinks. It was decided then and there that our training was complete, and preparations were to be made for the Timaeus itself to join the rest of the fleet. All that was needed was the arrival of a few final members, most notably a rather maverick Jedi by the name of Dante Redfield, who had extensive experience fighting the forces of chaos. As soon as he and the others arrived, we would be going into the Milky Way to make peace with the Imperium. Or so we thought.
This is for you new people. I only have one rule.
I repeat, this is on Trooper Auric of the Flight. Been ambush, taking every casualty. This force is a stunt, but not Imperium.